Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to see so many of you here today, and I'm grateful that so many of us are back together in person in addition to virtually. Welcome to 5783. I've always felt that there's a special benefit to being Jewish at this time of year. Summer and family vacations wind to a close as our children return to school and we return to work. The looser, fun time of summer slips away. And then as soon as we resume whatever our normal lives are, we have the high holidays. The weather turns cooler. We have another chance to take a pause, celebrate Rosh Hashanah, and reflect on the year that passed and the year ahead on Yom Kippur. As Jews, we have a unique opportunity to be refreshed, starting today by humbling ourselves, learning from our misdeeds, and embracing opportunities to be better and feel better about ourselves as we move forward. And then we take our refreshed selves back to normal life with a bit more reflection, mindfulness, peace, and focus. But all of you know that reality isn't always so idyllic. We don't have epiphanies that cast bright lights on solutions to our problems. We continue to struggle with ourselves and others and continue to struggle to be better people and have more positive impact in ways that are meaningful to us. As first termed by Holocaust survivor Hannah Arendt, that reality is simply a part of the human condition. So the opportunity for us is not to drive struggle from our lives, but to use our struggle as motivation to grow. And as every year brings opportunities old and new wrapped in the context of our world, communities, families, and individual lives, this year is no different. In my first year as president of Temple Sinai, this year brings me a new opportunity to work with the clergy and staff, board of directors, and each of you to make Temple Sinai a stronger and more meaningful center for conservative Jewish life in our community. And if you've listened to past presidents deliver this address in previous Yom Kippur services, you know that message is trite. But that's because it's not only the president's main goal, but the goal of every professional, board member, and any other person who steps foot in this building or engages with us in any of our programming. Our core products are the experiences that create meaning for each of us as Jews. Our children learning Hebrew, our heritage, our music, the foundational concepts of joy in being Jewish, sharing our joy in our simchas and support through our losses, comfort in community, inspiration through sermons, divrei Torah, and learning, pastoral care when we need it, being together as Jews in services as we are here today. These are only a few examples, and if any of them resonated with you personally, then I'm happy to say that we've delivered. But we know that those words, meaningful experiences, take on new significance this year as we've come through a long period of pandemic that we're now managing with less impact on our lives. Through this time, the world has changed and we have changed. Many of us were forced to reevaluate what's important to us, where to find meaning, how to allocate our resources, both human and financial, and define what we value. In many ways, we've redefined our relationships with our communities and how we engage with them. This has also been a part of our human condition over the past couple of years. You likely know that we at Temple Sinai made great efforts to continue to engage with all of you as best we could under the circumstances, with virtual opportunities to connect with services, religious school classes, and programming when we couldn't be in person. We reacted quickly to keep the train moving down the tracks. But as I stand here today looking out at all of you on this day of reflection, I can't help but wonder if we did enough. As you've changed and reevaluated what meaningful experiences are for you personally, have we kept pace? Have we provided them? If I asked each of you about your level of engagement with Temple Sinai relative to 3 years ago, what would your honest answer be? And understanding that some of you who might say less engaged are not present with us today, my concern is that we have work to do to better connect and better engage with all of you. Please don't hear this as an admonishment of any of us. During the past couple of years, the efforts of the staff, clergy, and volunteers to keep our programming going with the resources we had available was no less than admirable. And I need to express my sincere appreciation for that. But even with our best efforts, we've taken a hit. Thankfully, that hit was not financial, as many of our volunteers and staff were able to keep us budget neutral through fundraising and keep our membership numbers flat. My concern is that our hit was on engagement. And while the primary responsibility of the board of directors is to ensure the financial health of Temple Sinai, engagement is a leading indicator of financial health. In my professional life, I provide research and consulting to large corporations to help them develop and activate their innovation programs. And what I can tell you is that whether I'm working with a company that makes cleaning products or artificial intelligence-powered voice assistants like Alexa or Siri, everybody knows that products and services are simply paths to the ultimate goal, to deliver memorable experiences. And why is that the goal? Because the visceral and even unconscious experience of feeling good, more productive, more competent, or more connected keeps people coming back for more. What we also know is that any brand, company, or organization that does not keep up with the evolving needs of their customers or members will decline. People have options for getting their needs met, and keeping up with their changing needs helps shore up connection and can bring new people into the fold. We at Temple Sinai live in this same world, where as conservative Jews, we have multiple options for religious services, officiants, Jewish education, and Jewish community outside of Temple Sinai. As we change and reevaluate what we value in our lives, we must acknowledge that it's human nature to consider all of the options available to us. And on that note, I want to thank you again for being here today, knowing full well that you had other options, but you chose to be here with us. For all those reasons, we know that we need to provide experiences to deepen your connection with us and keep you coming back to Temple Sinai, to increase the value you feel in your relationship with us. But understanding what you need from us is no easy task. And while I believe many of you are happy with how we're doing overall, I've yet to meet a member of our synagogue who doesn't have at least one piece of constructive feedback on what we could do better. With that in mind, we'll be forming a committee to develop and execute a membership relationship survey, which will be fielded twice yearly with the full congregation. The purpose of the survey will be to allow us to listen to each of you in a proactive and structured way to better understand where your needs are being met and where we can do better. Initially, this will stimulate further discussion about how we can best move forward together as we feed back to you what you've told us. And over time, will allow us to track our progress as we implement initiatives based on what we learn. Even before implementing the survey, we know that changing our membership dues model may be an opportunity to remove financial barriers to engagement with Temple Sinai. And for those who feel that we've been here before, we haven't. The world on the downslope of the COVID pandemic is different. As I've mentioned, many of us have reevaluated what is of value to us and how we accordingly allocate our resources. And while we need to be fiscally responsible to keep our operations moving, we also cannot let finances be a barrier to membership. To address that issue, we're forming a committee to evaluate and recommend the potential adoption of an alternative dues model for the coming fiscal year. As I'm talking about finances, let's talk about annual appeal. None of you will be surprised that as a nonprofit organization, Temple Sinai manages to a break-even operating budget, which means that we aspire for all the money we bring in to cover all of our expenses. We are not in the business of making a profit. Any surplus, if we're so fortunate, goes directly back to the synagogue. Our main revenue drivers are membership fees, preschool and religious school tuition, and fundraising, which fund all of our programming, building costs, and clergy and staff salaries. Our goal to break even this year across all fundraising initiatives is $450,000, which means that we need an average of $1,100 from each member family in addition to membership dues to break even. And the annual appeal is by far the largest fundraising initiative we run. Historically, we know that some of you are able to give more, some give less, and some don't give. I sincerely thank those of you who have given in the past and those who have already made a gift this year. If you haven't already given this year, we're returning to pledge cards, where in the past, the minimum donation listed was $100, and that has been reduced to $36 to make participation more accessible. If $36 is too much, please participate in the annual appeal at whatever amount you can, even with a single dollar. Temple Sinai is our synagogue, and each and every one of us is responsible to support it. We exist for you and only exist because of you. If you haven't already donated or pledged this year, please either leave your pledge card in one of the green receptacles in the back of the sanctuary or in the lobby on your way out, or take it with you. For your convenience, there's a QR code on the card to scan and pledge after the holiday. As Annual Appeal helps us throughout this fiscal year, we're also building an endowment to provide for the future financial stability of our synagogue through development of a legacy society at Temple Sinai. Through this campaign, we'll engage with members and friends to consider gifts to Temple Sinai in their wills to make Temple Sinai a lasting part of their legacy. This initiative is imperative to our longer-term survival as a synagogue, to mitigate financial fluctuations in our year-to-year budget, and to enable us to continue to provide meaningful life cycle, educational, religious, and pastoral experiences for future generations. Although never formally documented, we've recently become aware of several members of our congregation that have already included Temple Sinai in their wills, which means that we have the beginnings of a successful foundation for our endowment. If you're not among those who've already participated, I urge you to please join Ilana and me in considering Temple Sinai in your plans. You will each receive information about how you can participate in this critical program in the coming weeks. Our past president, life member of the board, and passionate friend to Temple Sinai, Barbara Rosenau, has agreed to chair the Legacy Committee, which is under development now. Thank you, Barbara, for taking on this vital role in ensuring Temple Sinai's continued legacy in our community. I want to thank all of you again for being here today, whether online or in person. For each of us, this will be a year of change and reevaluation of meaning in our lives, perhaps more so than in years past. We at Temple Sinai exist to be a foundation of meaning in each of your lives. We look forward to continuing to provide meaningful Jewish experiences and in changing with you to provide new ones. Gamar Chatima Tova.